Gonna do something a little bit different today. Feeling a little bit under the weather. This is not the first time that I've covered this shoe. I've actually had 3 retails in hand so far. This is probably my 4th replica that I've had in hand. What I want to do is sort of show off my new channel. It's a retail only channel. It's only authentics. So anyway, here we go. The packaging has a clear plastic outer carton over the shoebox with AMM in here, all over the branding in white. Okay, so here's the first clue, and it's about the overwrap, this overwrap on the shoe. Now, on the retail that I had, the was on the width side on the top here. If I turn this around, there's nothing there. So on this one in particular, I have to turn it. It's on the length side. Okay, it's right here. Let me zoom in. So that's a clue right there to me that something's up. It should be here. At least it was on my pair, which was a size bigger, but I don't think that that would really make that big of a difference. I don't even think that the box was a different size. We will find out about that shortly though. And then as far as the code on my particular retail versus this replica, it's wrong. Where it says tray here, it's supposed to say sleeve. So 2 clues already from the verified retail. So let's keep going. The US release will most likely have the suggested retail tab on the box label with the $200 price point in USD. Okay, so I'm just going to pause on that retail label and then look at mine. The only thing that I notice is the printing of the Jumpman, Mr. Jumpman here. There is gold and then it looks like it's printed over white. Whereas this particular retail or any retail that I've seen, it just looks gold, so that printing looks off. Otherwise, it looks pretty good. The size looks pretty good. All the information looks correct. That's really a fidelity issue. If you see above the style code here too, you see that it says Jordan.com there, but it's also kind of fuzzy. The style code is DH3434 space 110, and the official colors are white, medium gray. Correct. The metric box dimensions are 36 by 26 by 12 and a half. There is 12 and a half. No code stamp. So what I just learned is that men's size 11, women's size 12 and a half retail box is the same exact dimensions as this replica box, which is a size 10 men's or 11 and a half women's. That re-emphasizes that the sleeve is wrong because there wasn't a different size of this box at a size 10. So no code on the underside, and that is correct. Now the next thing is translucent paper. A dead stock pair should have translucent branded tissue paper over the shoes, and there is a YCM sticker on the inside of the box. Translucent. This is not translucent. This is opaque paper. So that's another dead clue. I mean, if you're running a shop, you're done. You don't even have to look at the shoe because there's too much off here. But let's just keep going. Let's pretend that the guy doesn't have a box. YCM sticker. Let's see. Yes, there is a YCM sticker in here. And there is no the silica bags. This is just a guess of mine, but I think some of these YCM stickers are actual YCM stickers where they do reduce the moisture in the box, but some of them are just stickers and they still put silica bags in the box. This pair has the extra lace bag neatly attached to the right shoe in the top lateral lace hole. Okay, so that is true. This pair does have the extra lace bag neatly attached to the lateral side of the right shoe in the top lace hole. Now I want to look at that bag. This pair has the extra lace bag. There's a commenter said something about that red line. I think the red line is not a great legit checking indicator anymore. I have to correct myself because my particular retails, all of them had the red line on the extra lace bag, and this does not have the red line. So I think that's another excellent clue. I haven't seen every single pair to know if that's true or not, but the ones that I've had the red line. The Nike Air, along with the brown, thin, cardboard, co-branded tag, are hung on the lateral side of the left shoe with a black stretch nylon cord. Everything I said there is also correct. I don't know if I ever measured out this tag here, but it does seem a little bit small. Though this hang tag looks pretty good, it also looks like there's some kind of stain or something around the Nike logo, which I don't think would have passed QC for this particular release, being that this was such a high quality release. stock pair should already be factory laced in the first 5 pairs of lace holes. Okay, factory lacing. Now, we've talked about factory lacing before on this channel. That is a terrible legit checking indicator, because if somebody is trying to scam you and they know what the factory lacing is supposed to look like, they could always change it before they show it to you. But this particular one, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, that's correct. Now, there is nothing significant revealed on this pair under UV light. Glue near the midsole joint is normal. So we usually do the UV test at the end, but since I'm doing it now in that video, I'm going to do it here now. So this is the right shoe. There are guidelines, and they are very prominent all across here. There's a big hash mark there. There's a guideline. There's guidelines there. No box. Get a black light, you're good to go. Easy, legit checking indicators here. Let me see if there's any stamping. Here's the right shoe. No stamping, but definitely covered in guidelines. So it's a rep and it's a wrap if you're running a shop. But let's keep moving on just so we can kind of learn a little bit more about some more details to look for. UV light testing. UV light can be a great authentication tool, but it should never be relied upon as a be-all end-all. Many replicas will pass a UV test,
This is true.
Relying solely on a UV test is a great way to get burned on a replica.
Absolutely.
The squeeze test, where you squeeze the outsole right under the toe box, should have Okay, here's the squeeze test that I discussed. It's a controversial test because apparently some retails fail it. I don't see how that could be if there's an encapsulated air unit in here. There is one in this particular replica. I can feel it. It kind of feels like an overinflated basketball, and definitely does not move when I squeeze right up here. The outsole has a mostly matte finish. So I talk about the finish a lot of times on my retail only channel because sometimes the replicas have a completely different finish, and this is especially true on Air Jordan 1s. Air Jordan 1 retail is not always the same kind of finish. It's not always flat, it's not always semi-gloss, it's not always glossy, but the particular release is consistent, whichever that is. So that is a deviation to look for too if it's a dead stock pair. Gray suede outer rand has a distinctive shape on both sides. Many replicas have not mastered this shape. Now that is correct. You see that rand there? Replicas, for whatever reason, have never been able to rectify their mistakes here. Let me bring this in here a little bit. It would be more or less like this on a retail. That harder, more open angle on the top there just doesn't exist. That big thick thing there. That's the easiest clue just on foot. That is actually something that you could tell on foot when somebody's wearing it. But don't call people out. It's none of your business, okay? What they do, what they wear, what they eat don't make you okay? Like the great Jay-Z said. There's a neat double stitch with gray thread on the outer rand and in white thread on the inner rand. Okay, we're getting into the weeds a little bit here, but we might as well just do it because that's what we do here. I talked about a neat double stitch that goes around the top of the rand here. Now, this double stitch is neat on this particular replica, but it's not as deep as the retails that I've had. You could actually kind of see those grooves a little bit more. It's pretty flat. Done by a different machine. Again, another retail deviation. Medium tumble on the white composite leather of the shoe. This is actually not as tumbled as retail. This is. It appears though that they did the right type of PVC tumbling on the back part of the shoe, but on this vamp here, it's pretty flat. The gray suede has a longer nap on the lace line. Okay, so we're talking about nap length now. So the retails, the gray suede has a different nap length depending on the part of the shoe. It's actually only 2 different nap lengths, but the nap length that is around the lace line is longer than the nap length on the rand or the back or the collar. This one, the nap length is the same. It's pretty long all the way around. The TPU on the back tab and the lace line have no green hue. Okay, so I brought up a green hue. That is another thing. When they're creating these TPU back tabs, for whatever reason, these replica factories are not getting the tint right for that aged look. I hope that my color balance is creating a green kind of hue here, just a tint of green, and that is not on the retails at all. It is just yellow and white basically. So that's a good tell as well. The tongues are respectively co-branded in shiny gray thread. You can clearly see all 4 fingers on the Jumpman on the right tongue. The tongue stitching is actually excellent on this, and you can see all 4 fingers on the right shoe. Left tongue is 4 centimeters up. Okay, so I measured the AMM on the left shoe. I got 4 centimeters. Now, if this is wrong, we can attribute it to size dependence, but we're gonna take a measurement anyway. Exactly a half a centimeter too short from my size 11 retail. So that could be a size dependent element of the shoe. I would not consider that a good legit checking indicator. However, if you do get your hands on a size 10 and you have your tailor's tape with you, just take a note of it. Listen, this is just if you're trying to be a professional authenticator, you're gonna have to have this stuff in your head or take some good notes. The back of the tongue and the inner collar all the way down to the heel have a gray satin quilted pattern with single white thread lines. Okay, so what is true is that it does have a quilted satin that's gray behind the tongue, and it goes all the way down to the heel there. However, I mentioned white thread in my particular retail, and this thread does not look white to me. This thread looks gray, so that could be another retail deviation. The insoles are blue ortholite with a parallel glue pattern going all the way to the top key slot. Okay, so these insoles are blue ortholite like the retail in my video. However, I do want to point something out for you rep fam and retail alike. When you're making and this is just a theory of mine, but when you're making a budget replica, you're trying to cut corners everywhere you can. I think your goal as a manufacturer is just to make sure that the shoe looks the part on foot. Typically on a budget replica, one thing that I have noticed is the glue pattern only going on the heel parallel, not going all the way up to at least 75-80%. And my theory is that, let's say you buy a gallon of glue. Well, you can glue more insoles and get more out of it if you use basically a third of the glue, and this will still stay in the shoe. But anyway, it is just something that I noticed, a little money changing corner cut that I've seen on a lot of replica insoles. Finished violet top has a screen printed Jumpman on the right insole heel and an AMM branding on the left insole heel. Okay, so this particular replica, the Jumpman, there is some slight angling or detail on his pants underneath where his knee is bent that is kind of missing. That's not a great legit checking indicator, but it is just something that I noticed. The AMM on the right insole looks excellent, and by the way, the screen printing on these is really good, which is not typical of retail or replica when it comes to the screen printing on the heel. The size tag factory code on the top right is LNM, and the security code over Made in China is different on both shoes. Okay, so the size tag style code is on the top right corner and it is LNM. I do notice a font weight difference, but that's neither here nor there. You know, we're going over all of the details. Obviously, the shoe failed before we even got to the shoe because the box failed. But I think that it's good to go over all of the details for all of the shoes because you might run into one that's very, very close and you're going to try to find something to make sure that it's authentic or not. Now, I'm talking about the security code. The security code is this long, wild alphanumeric number above the Made in China on the tag, and it should be different on each shoe. This one ends in UWMT. So I expect to see a different number on this one. This one ends in OHJI, so that does pass. The footbed has a nylon strobel with one visible guide hole and a good amount of white stitching. So I discussed the footbed here. These footbeds are nylon strobels. They do have one visible guide hole. They do have a decent amount of white stitching. I also mentioned that the printing is normal. However, those codes that are on there were not on any of my retails in that blue ink. However, I do see the edges of the material used for this satin quilted pattern there on the bottom, right on the edges of the thread threading there, and that was not on retail. Visible markings on the strobel are normal. Otherwise, these visible markings that are on here are normal. Typically, they mark up a big piece of nylon and they cut out those shapes to make all the different strobels. If you thought this guide was helpful, please give a like, subscribe, and ring that notification bell for all future authentication guides on this channel. And remember, real sneakerheads show love.